Hey, how's it going? Darby Rollins here, founder of Gen AI University. And in this masterclass, I'm going to be covering the AI integration playbook, mastering AI for business growth. Over the course of this masterclass, I'm going to be covering a range of things that ultimately will lead back to helping you unlock creativity, productivity, and a competitive advantage in the age of AI. For professionals and business owners that are seeking ways to leverage AI and integrate this technology into your existing business and workflow, what we're going to be covering throughout the course of this masterclass is going to be a mix of a few things. One is the mindset behind approaching AI and the hands-on skills that are required to gain a better understanding in practical real-world applications for using AI for your business growth. Now, whether you are a solopreneur, freelancer looking to use AI for yourself and growing your business and in the work you're doing with your clients, or you are a business owner and you have a team of people that are going to be utilizing AI, you want to use AI inside of your own workflows, streamline and scale operations, communications, things of that nature, to large scale organizations, enterprises that are integrating AI across dozens, if not hundreds, of employees. What ultimately does this all come down to? And how do we simplify the process of AI integrating into our business to make our lives better and make it easier for us to enhance and do what we're already good at doing? And what's like the basic understanding that we all need to come to the table with so that we're educated and informed as to how to use AI to work for us and enhance and augment our abilities. And so throughout the course of this book, we're going to be covering a number of things. One is going to be, or this book and this masterclass, one is going to be the urgent need for AI integration and why it matters right now. Section 2 is going to be covering the keys for effective adoption of AI tools and how to integrate them into your business. Section 3 is understanding your audience deeply and how we use AI to do that. Section 4 is going to be covering the strategic frameworks for AI and how we will be demonstrating throughout the course of this masterclass how you can utilize creator briefs and strategic briefs, buyer's blueprints, to really give you a better understanding of, first and foremost, who you're going to be serving inside of your business if you're coming at it from a marketing lens, but how you can also apply these frameworks to all different areas as you create and scale your content with AI. Section 5 is going to be covering how to unlock the creativity and innovation by utilizing AI. And then we're going to be discussing in Section 6 quality and scale inside of the realm of content creation. We'll wrap things up or come to a close wrap up in Section 7, discussing the growth through AI and different ways to take what we've been creating throughout this masterclass and how to apply it for growing your campaigns. And then in the conclusion, you'll have a roadmap to integrating AI into your business. All of this content and information you're going to be getting here today is designed to inform you and helping you take action to make forward progress in using AI in your business. So with that said, we'll start with the first aspect of things, which is the overview, right? Ultimately, the goal of what you're about to learn here today is going to help you unlock creativity, enhance your product AI. So if you're a professional, you're a business owner, you want to leverage AI, this is the masterclass for you. If you are a student that is looking to level up your skills or gain practical skills that you can apply in today's workforce, and you're going to gain a lot of value out of going through this masterclass. And at the end of the day, AI human mindset is a huge portion of how we approach things here at Gen AI University in utilizing our own skills and abilities as humans to tapping into AI and leveraging it for that productivity and creativity gains for the competitive advantage. But ultimately, you can only learn and watch and understand so much, whereas the actual practical hands-on skills that you develop when putting this stuff into practice is critical. So I would encourage you, as you're watching the demonstrations in this masterclass, to follow along after you see what's possible through the workflows I'm going to be sharing with you, and to explore and experiment, something that we say often here at or in term my part of something that I say often, and people asking like, how do I, get better at using AI? And the term analogy that I use professionally is fuck around and find out, because at the end of the day, these tools are going to keep changing. And if you're scared or hesitant to even get started working with them in the first place, you're only doing yourself a disadvantage. But the skills and the direct feedback you'll get from using AI and how to think like the AI and modify and adjust your prompts and frameworks and techniques with collaborating back and forth is ultimately going to help you with improving the types of content that you're going to be producing, uh, and how to navigate the ever changing landscape that we have, because the sand is shifting underneath our feet. And that's all the more reason for the urgent need for AI integration here in section one. Look, the fact is the AI is transforming industries faster than ever before. What was true a few months ago from the apps that were on the marketplace is now different. There's more competitors, there's more apps, there's more noise, there's more overwhelm, there's more um, you know, problems that are coming up in the space of AI every single day as a result of this technology evolving so fast. And with that, the risk of falling behind, actually without the proper skills and training to how to use AI, is only going to limit the ability for you to have to expand and grow, whether it's just personally or professionally. AI is going to be a part of all of our lives every day. It already is in a lot of cases. You're probably already using a number of AI tools, even if you don't realize that they are using AI to help power that tool. Now, when you're coming from a business perspective, the mindset and approach to AI is critical, because the speed of change is only going to get faster. The train that we're seeing is leaving the station, and it's going 1,000 miles per hour, and it's only gaining speed. And so, how do you adopt a mindset that is adaptive, that as we integrate and things change and break, that we are able to pivot and change our perspective and how we're approaching our adjustments to that change in a way that is keeping us ahead of the curve. And while we not, it might be difficult to get so far ahead that we have a comfortable, like a really comfortable lead from all the others that are in our competition that are learning these tools as well. The fact is that if you're not learning these tools and you're not putting the time and effort in, which you're here right now, so congratulations, you are steps ahead. And in 2 months in AI time is like 2 years. And when you look at it and how fast things evolve, that people that are hesitant to only dipping their toes in the water right now, as opposed to those that are actively getting in and trying and just going at this from a lens of learning and experimentation and just practice, 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 is over time, those muscles and the understanding of how AI works are going to only get stronger. And that ultimately is going to help you with staying ahead and being able to adapt as you integrate and use that um, consistent um, growth mindset to really push and propel you forward. But at the same time, is keeping in mind that while we're in urgent need for AI integration, because it's only going to help with saving time and increasing efficiencies, productivity, things of that nature. There are points to keep in mind, that there are concerns with how to ethically use AI, because while we'll use it for good, many people will also be using AI for bad. And so keeping in mind how you're using it ethically and the approaches and the conversation around it is ever evolving. And so it's something to keep a steady ear to the ground on as things change, from a copyright perspective, from how you're utilizing AI in your day to day, whether it's business or just education. As ultimately, we want to be adaptive and being able to adjust quickly as things change, because they certainly will. So ultimately, what we're doing here today inside of this masterclass and here in this first section is just setting the table that AI is transforming industries faster than ever. So now is the time to jump on board and learn how specific ways AI can help you with growing your business, and understanding that going at this from the wrong direction or using AI to go fast in the wrong direction can ultimately lead you to failure faster, which, again, if you're learning from that failure, that's great. But also understand the risk that you're putting out there when you're using AI and taking an entire team or organization in a direction. You could go out of business much faster if the wrong decisions are made along that route. And AI can help accelerate that in the wrong direction as it can in the right direction. And so being a student mindset and a lifelong learner in all aspects of life, but especially when it comes to how you're integrating AI, is that things are going to change. And so knowing who your sources are that you're getting information from and who do you trust and respect in the space that you are following and taking advice from is also critical, because there's a lot of noise on the market. There's a lot of people trying to sell you thousands of prompts to do X, Y, or Z, to do this with AI, to do that, when in reality, again, trust but verify, fact check and see where people have come from. How long have they been in the space? Are they doing any active projects? And be ready to put the things that you're learning into action, because hands-on training is going to be most valuable as we dive into things here. Now, section 2, the keys for effective adoption. First and foremost, AI is an augmentation tool, not a replacement. There's a lot of worry and scare out there about how AI is going to have a lot of negative effects, and reducing or taking away jobs, and putting people out of work, out of business. And in some cases, that is going to be the case. Jobs are going to get lost. You're already seeing it in some industries, some more than others. But ultimately, when I am looking at AI for myself, and when I'm looking at it from those that are a part of our community that have been early adopters of AI for several years now, and generative AI, and applying it for their space, is that those that are already good at a certain thing, whether it's writing, art, speaking, otherwise, course creation, teaching, then AI can augment what they're already good at. And it doesn't necessarily replace them, but it makes them better at what they already at. Alternatively, if, for example, if you are a content writer and you know how to use AI to make better content faster and deliver a great result, then you're going to be on steps ahead, going on the right path. But if you are not a content writer, you don't know what goes into making a good content, a good optimized blog post, for example, and AI gives you an example. If you don't know what to choose, good or bad, and how to modify things from there, then you're more than likely not going to be able to use the tools as effectively as those that are already good and at practically like using those inside of their existing skill sets. And so it's going to augment your skills and make you better at what you already are. And being good at something gives you a skill set that you can look and analyze the different AI tools out there for where this tool or this is a series of tools that I need to use to work inside of my existing workflow. And then whenever Photoshop comes out with an update that people say is going to make, photo editors obsolete, well, like, how are you going to adapt to that change happening? Because stuff's going to change all the time in this space. But rather than looking at it from, oh, this is going to just ruin everything in my business and otherwise, well, how can you now leverage AI to put yourself in a better position for being the conductor or the director behind the engine that you're running, and leveraging these tools to, again, deliver great results for those that we're working with. And so with that in mind, it's important to have oversight and governance over your AI tools and models, and ensuring that your high quality, the data that you're giving and training AI with, whether it's some of the examples for the blueprints that I'm giving you, or just general context about your business or your brand or what you have to offer, is, as AI is changing and as more and more people are using tools like ChatGPT, then the general consensus of AI is going to get more general. And AI is great at a lot of things on a general level, but bringing a level of specificity and subject matter expertise and high quality content to the table will help train and modify and fine tune the contents that you're getting in such a way that you are still guiding the machine. If you just click the button and everything would take care of itself and it would all come out perfect at the end, then like that is maybe someplace where we're going down the road. But right now, AI needs guardrails to be most effective, and being able to set those guardrails and maintaining human guidance in the process is critical to make sure that you're actually getting the right results, and knowing that while AI might help with certain areas of your process and workflow, that certain areas might be better suited for a human to come in and a human to maybe like edit or provide some hooks or angles that you hadn't thought of. We're using AI to help brainstorm that part, and then, step away and do some human things that you are only capable of doing inside of your process, and looking at ways that AI can help you with streamlining and taking some workload, some things that are maybe more repetitive and could be automated off of your plate. And then once you free up that level of bandwidth or capacity that we're currently spending on any sort of project, any sort of task, then where are you now redistributing that capacity? When you're looking at a lens of content creation, it used to take 90% of the time in content creation was like actually getting the content out and written in a lot of cases. And now that that's dropped down to 10%, because AI is helping us write so much faster, our time can be better spent allocated towards researching, towards developing new distribution channels, towards interviewing higher caliber experts or other people in our industry, and spending that time on building that human to human connection. Again, and all of that comes back down to like, what is the information that we're not only feeding ourselves, but how are we bringing this information into the processes that we're integrating AI, and making sure that we're not feeding AI a bunch of wrong data, that we are on top of the outputs that it's giving, and that we're not just taking every output as the end all be all. We are maintaining that human oversight and ensuring that the content that we're providing in and the context that providing AI is absolutely critical. Bad context, and you're going to get poor results from the AI. But if you come to the table, if you're have your creative brief already, you have all your brand assets and guidelines, and you have all of the things that would make for a successful campaign out the gate ready to go at the beginning, then AI is going to be much more effective at reproducing content in your brand voice with the types of content that you want for that campaign. And there's pretty limitless opportunities for fine tuning different large language models for your own business and your own systems. But at the end of the day, you still need to have oversight into the quality of the data that you're giving it, and making sure AI has that human guidance to keep it along the tracks and to optimize along the way. All right, so now moving into section 3, understanding your audience deeply. So this section stems from the fact that most businesses out there, while you might, especially like, let's look at like a really small business, and you're a mom and pop shop, and you are serving one like segment of a market that is coming to your business and buying your goods or services. Well, what about all of the other people that could potentially be reaching if your marketing, your message was speaking to that specific audience? And while some people use a few different terms for these, we've used the word avatar to describe the customers that we're targeting in our segment. A segment is another word that you could use interchangeably there, but also inside of like the niche in the market that we're working in. It all comes down to understanding our audience, and how deep can we go into understanding our audience. And in the past, before AI, and if you're not using AI for this, you're going to find this extremely useful, is that it's a fantastic research assistant for understanding, because of what AI knows on the generalized sense of the internet, that like, if you are this type of person in this type of market, what is driving you, like what are you experiencing from a fear perspective, from pain, from goals, from dreams, from desires, things that make us tick as human beings, that ultimately will lead us to making decisions in who we want to do business with, who do we want to build a relationship with, heck, who do we want to have a cup of coffee with. If our message is landing on deaf ears in our marketing, and even internally inside of our communication, if it's inconsistent and if it's not incongruent with our brand, then we're not setting ourselves up for success. And so when we're going to be covering our audience and how to use AI for that, this is really the most critical part for any business that is marketing a product, an offer, or a service, is a complementation of one, a creative brief, and then two, with a buyer's blueprint. And so these two things are fundamental from any sort of marketing plan getting off for success, and have been made. And I've created recipes around these two specific topics with from some of my involvement in work with two mentors. One, Ron Lynch, known as the $4 billion man, the mastermind behind GoPro's success. And two, John Benson, the inventor of the video sales letter. Ron Lynch is, a legend in his own right in the marketing space. And I learned the creative brief process from Ron for how to all the fundamentals for setting up any sort of marketing campaign that you have for a product or an off plan in mind. And I realized that, well, I didn't ever have one of these for my business. A lot of businesses don't have these as even just a fundamental start. And if you're going to go into creating AI or using AI for creating marketing campaigns, especially at scale, and you don't have a creative brief, much less a basic content brief, then you're going to be setting yourself up for not optimal results. And just not putting yourself in the best position to get the most out of AI, because you're not going to be seeding AI with the proper amount of context. And so creative briefs are one of the most powerful things that you can prime an AI with, so that it has the proper information and context to be aligned with your brand and your marketing message and what you're looking to accomplish. Combine that with the buyer's blueprint, which we created in collaboration with John Benson, this recipe that I'll be demonstrating here in this masterclass. Benson, as I said, invented the video sales letter, and has written and sold, copy sold billions of dollars worth of products in his day, and is a legend in the marketing space as well. And so you put these two together, and they're very complementary, because one, you need to create a brief to understand at the high level of okay, what are we creating here, and who are we going to be serving for? What is the promise our brand is making? What is the problem we're solving? How are we a solution? Who are our customer avatar segments? Who are the people that we are targeting inside of our market? And what problems do they face? How does our product provide benefit to them? What features support that benefit? Doing that for each of your segments is only going to help you get more crystal clear on maybe a marketing message for segment one is going to be completely different for segment two, even though you're selling the same product. And so you get the creative brief in combination with a buyer's blueprint. You've got an extremely powerful piece of reference material and starting point for utilizing inside of your business. AI aside, this is some of the most valuable documentation that you can have from a marketing standpoint. So I'll be demonstrating here some examples of a blueprint and how a blueprint runs and operates, and how you can create a customized blueprint here inside of this video, and demonstrating it at the end. And so we'll be walking through that here shortly. And now on to section 4 is the strategic frameworks for AI. And it's how the creative briefs are going to provide that direction to AI. So first and foremost, when we are creating our creative briefs, what we want to be doing is providing the direction for the AI to focus on what target market, who we're going to be serving, and what problem are we solving, and how are we messaging that specific segmentation of our market. And when I'm saying our market and who we're serving, is from anyone that is running any sort of marketing campaign to sell any kind of product, any kind of service. You can all benefit from having a creative brief, maybe not just one, but one for each one of your segmentations of your audience. And so what we want to do with our creative brief and our buyer's blueprint is what I've done is combine those two into what I'm calling a strategic brief, because now we're going to take the creative brief and we're going to combine it with our buyer's blueprint and put these together. You've got what I'm calling a strategic brief that I'm going to show you here with a demonstration of how this works and how you can modify and approach this brief for internally for your own business, for your marketing campaigns, and then how are we going to use this content for giving AI proper reference material for our marketing campaigns. So, with that said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and toggle into a Google document. What we see here is my strategic brief recipe and a brief overview of when I'm talking about a recipe and what you were looking at here so that we're on the same page. Is this recipe was built utilizing our auto scripting process, which is a 3-part workflow that we use to engineer prompts, to stack commands, and to then automate that workflow by utilizing tools like ChatGPT and Claude from Anthropic. So, important things to point out here. A content brief is the basic amount of information and context that you want to provide AI so that it knows what the heck you're talking about. Any content brief can be modified and you can put more information in this content brief for additional context. The example I provided here is how simple you can have it. And I'll demonstrate this example on how to modify this example for your own business. But this is at bare minimum, who are you serving? Who's your segment? Who's your avatar? In this case, for the example, it's a board game, SideHustle, the party game for entrepreneurs. What niche are you in? So if I am serving this customer, and what is the general market that we're talking about here? That is just board games, for example. And then what's the context behind it? And so if I didn't give AI any sort of context beyond avatar, niche, in the product or service, it's got a lot of room for interpretation. And I don't want it to just interpret this and to create a new product or something that's completely misaligned with the existing product that we have. And so I've given it a basic amount of context here, which is basically that it's a board game designed to spark your entrepreneurial creativity. There's 240 cards, 1 dice. And so these are the features and the basic premise of the game and who it's for. Okay. So with that, this is a content brief. And inside of the content brief, there's a few things you need to be aware of. One is this: avatar equals, it's in brackets. This is what we call a variable. And a variable is something that when you are working with AI, you can attribute certain nouns, pronouns, verbs, qualities, additional layers of context to a variable by structuring it in this way. Brackets, avatar equals this. And so anytime now I use the brackets avatar within this recipe, AI knows that I'm talking about this reference point. Same thing goes for niche. Niche equals board games. The niche is the variable that I am basically assigning what that variable is. So I have to do this work once, and then I could run the recipe again and again and again. If I want to change anything, I don't have to go back and change the word entrepreneurs and board game 50 times inside of this recipe. I only have to do it once. Again, same thing with the product or service, and context is the same thing as well. And so when you're running this recipe for yourself, you want to start here with the avatar, the niche, the product or service, and some context. And I give a descriptor of 32 words if you can narrow it down into that layer of focus. If you need to use a little bit more, fine. But don't just plop 5 pages of just random context here. Try to get it really hard, really honed in, so that you can focus AI into the key things that you're selling and offering here, because we can run these again and again and again. And so it's important not to overload AI with too much information, but give it the information that's necessary right now. So that's the content brief, and that's how we structure our content brief with variables. Now, the second layer, as I mentioned in our auto scripting process, is command stacking, or is, besides the content brief, is the prompt engineering and the command stacking. And so what you see here inside of part 1 of this recipe are different prompts. Say, act as a marketer and creative director, right? This is a prompt. And what truth can you promise your client or customer? So if I am looking at this from just trying to figure out what I'm looking at here, and this is your first time ever looking at one of our recipes, we have a mixture of prompts, which are basically priming the AI to say, hey, I want you to do this. This is what I want you to act as. This is the instruction that I'm giving you that I want you to reference and then execute. And then all of these, I call them commands. Some people just call these prompts as well. But ultimately, I want to give AI context, let it know what I want from it from an instruction standpoint. And then I want it to have, and it's indicated by these caret brackets right here, that what truth is it? Define the problem or service your product solves. Define the simple answer. Okay. And so I'm structuring this in a way that I can run multiple prompts. This is where the command stacking comes into place, is that as I'm running multiple of these prompts, all of these are getting run in sequence so that it's taken me a lot of time to go back through and refine how these all work together. But now that I've engineered each one of these prompts as solo prompts, and I know that I can get a good output there, then I could stack those prompts. And that's what I call command stacking. So I can run multiple of these instructions in a series, and then we automate that workflow by turning it into a recipe like you see here inside of a simple Google document to run everything that you see here. And so, for example, when you get all the way down to the bottom, you notice this here is the command. Reference the top of the recipe, start here, execute part 1, and then each section to complete this content, part 1 through 3. After the sequence stops, if not complete, continue the next part in order. And so, as you can see with this command, this is telling the AI to go up and now execute everything here. And I'm doing this for our strategic brief, which is combining our creative brief with our buyer's blueprint. And you can run any number of these commands, any number of these prompts individually in any part of this recipe in by itself. And so what I'm going to demonstrate now is how to go through and copy the recipe in and then provide the additional levels of context. So we can go from there. So I'm going to copy this recipe, and I'm going to first start in Claude.ai, which is a large language model from the company Anthropic, and allows you to put quite a bit of context in for things like these recipes, where I paste that recipe. You can see that recipe here at the bottom. Now I go up, and I'm going to use an example for a content brief. We're starting let's say we're starting a marketing campaign for this game. I would want to provide this context about the game, the niche, the basic, like who are we serving here that I think that we're serving. There's probably more, but we'll figure that out with the brief. And selecting enter. Now, from the point where I select enter, AI is now, on Claude in this case, is taking that recipe and executing it. So the promise we promise entrepreneurs are riotously fun game night. They'll get the creative juices flowing for the next business venture. And so you can see the demonstration here going through each different section here. It's identifying different entrepreneurs inside of this entrepreneur segment. So we have segment 1, avatar 1, aspiring entrepreneurs, problems, lack of business ideas, intimidated to start a business, want a creative outlet, features, card deck ideas, that thing. Avatar 2, established entrepreneurs. Avatar 3, entrepreneurial families. And so you can see aspiring versus established versus a family of entrepreneurs going to have different marketing messages that they'll want to buy. Disconnect from kids maybe, or maybe rarely laugh time together, right? So like that can all inform the content that I'm going to be producing here in this. So as we go down, we continue coming up with how we're going to be brainstorming again. What's our USP for something like this? 10 campaigns for ad ideas, YouTube influencer gameplay videos, Instagram, AR, Facebook ads with aspirational messaging. Okay, so I'm brainstorming different ways to utilize or to create marketing campaigns based on the content brief that I'm feeding it. And now we get into the brand style guide. And so if you don't have a brand style guide, this will help with formatting it. And, ideally, if you've got a logo, you could just fill this out once and then you could keep the same style guide again and again. But handy something to have as you are going about a campaign and going to be bringing in additional designers or other AI tools and things of that nature. Now to part 3, the buyer's blueprint, feeding off of our creative brief primary goal. And so it's going to start relaying now all of the primary complaints, the secondary complaints, the topics related to those complaints, goals, dreams, objections, negative feelings, ultimate fears, mistaken beliefs. And so these are all things that are going to go into informing the marketing and the messaging and what is ultimately driving different segments of our market to buy and at different stages of the buying process. And we can go down and we can see without side hustle, difficulty thinking creatively. With side hustle, sparks creativity with hilarious prompts. And so I'm going down and scrolling, and you can see I've generated an entire buyer's blueprint based off of a creative brief that I will now be able to take and refine to then go and apply into the other areas for my marketing campaign that is aligned with this message. And frankly, yeah, you could have gone and done this without AI, and it probably would have taken you at minimum hours, at most weeks, if not more, if you ever get this much information about your customers that you're trying to reach or are already marketing to, or new audiences and new segments that you hadn't considered. This one rendition of this recipe gave me all of that and essentially the click of a button with a minimum amount of context provided. Now, that's example number 1. Now, for another example, let's take number 2. Let's say I have a new campaign that I'm going to be running, and I want to work with AI to start coming up with that creative brief. I'm going to paste that recipe into here. I'm going to grab my content brief, copy and paste that as well into Claude. And now I'm going to fill it out with just some basic information. Let's say I am a luxury real estate brokerage, and my main clients that we serve are high net worth individuals. Niche, I'm going to say luxury new home construction. Product or service, let's just say Darby Realty. And context. And this is where I would provide AI with some additional context as to what I'm going to be serving here, what I'm going to be creating. And I'll say, we help like high net worth individuals in Austin purchase luxury new home construction properties for a number of reasons. Our white glove service helps make the buying process seamless for our buyers, and we handle everything from start to finish, as well as connecting our clients with our network of luxury real estate brokers and partners worldwide, so they can always get the property they want. Okay. It's a general idea of like what we would do if we were doing a business selling luxury new home construction. And I just threw my name in here for realty and some extra context. And so that said, now if I'm going to start, even doing any sort of marketing campaign around this sort of offering, I want to make sure that I'm promising and identifying the promise, the problem, the solution that we are offering and refining it. And again, this isn't just a one and done recipe, but what it is something that will help with ideation and refinement of your creative brief, and then combine that with the buyer's blueprint to ultimately put those two together and have your strategic brief that is helping you just get on the same page and have a game plan for who you're selling to, like what makes you different, how are you serving and solving their problems, and having one source of truth at the end of the day that you can create and modify into just a simple Word document or a PDF that then will feed your AI information for your business specifically, because you've got all the information in there inside of the strategic brief to make sure that your outputs that you're getting for any sort of marketing campaign that you're going to be using across the board, whether it's solo or your entire team. Imagine having everybody just referencing this as the source of truth and knowing that there is a document for a specific offer or service that a company is providing that gets updated as the company's offerings and services expand, that as you add different segments and avatars that you're working with, that you update your document. And that's where making sure that you are continuing to refine and improve on the content that you are providing here to AI is up to date, and that you don't just let AI go off on the rails and assume that all of this content is going to be perfect right out the get-go. Because again, while it's generating this content, I can read through, and assuming I'm an expert in this subject, I will know that some things are more true than others. And maybe this isn't the direction I want to go here, but I want to tweak and modify it and rerun the recipe on that other front. So as you can see, we are going down the buyer's blueprint now, different benefits of the offer, and maybe this is getting my creative juices flowing. There's some stuff that here that I never would have thought about, some new perspective, some new angles for, crafting and creating my marketing message around, to ultimately leading back to business growth. And so as you can see, just in a matter of moments, we've identified that down for a customer avatar of a busy business owner. If I want to prompt AI now to go on to the next, create a blueprint for the next avatar. So remember how we talked about the variables. Now we're moving on to another segment, wealthy retirees, right? Going to have different goals, different complaints than you would as just a busy professional or a second-time home buyer. So I want to have the content brief, the strategic brief that has all of these elements provided with it. And the buyer's blueprint that you can see in this section of the recipe is building off of that creative brief. And so the stronger your creative brief is, the more it's going to complement how you run specifically the contents in your buyer's blueprint. And when you run into issues with Claude doing this, you just type continue. And because of Claude's ability to look back and reference very large amounts of material and its reference points, it can look back all the way up to the top and notice that busy professionals, and maybe the avatar was a little bit different for the second time home buyer. And so again, this is something that, it happens. Sometimes AI doesn't exactly follow every single instruction to a T that we give it, but it gave me an idea for, another segment of the market that I hadn't even considered with these three. And so again, you're going to run this type of recipe multiple times, dozens, probably more, depending on how many products or services you have to offer, and how big your market is. But as you can see, you can continue to run this for different segments of your market. You can experiment with different creative brief prompts and refining that creative brief so that ultimately, whenever you are done with your strategic brief, you've got that solid plan that will then act as a guide point, and a much more refined guide point at that, for AI to build off of as you move into the next series of business growth. And so what we covered was how the creative brief provides direction to AI in terms of identifying the key pillars of our content and our marketing and our strategy, and then how that creative brief led to different ideation for different segments of our content in the buyers, and how to get on the same page with this by putting them all together through our strategic brief recipe. And all that said is, like, now that that's one step of the content process that's done, this is one out of thousands of ways that you could potentially be using AI in your business. But ultimately, if you're marketing any product or service, then you want to have a solid game plan, and the strategic brief is a great way to make sure that you are getting all the information that you need on the research side and ideation up front, so that as we move into completing this, integrating these plans at scale with tools like Jasper, and you can also use Claude, things of that nature, that the context is already provided to it, and you are able to keep your messaging and your marketing content much more aligned and across the board. So moving on to section 5, we're unlocking the creativity and innovation with AI. And so, as you saw in the demonstration I just laid out, that AI is all about frameworks. And this is the key for unlocking AI and ensuring, or unlocking the creative element of AI, and making sure that you can use it to actually produce consistent results. And so when we're talking about priming AI with strategic frameworks, what you saw in this recipe, this is all a framework. And if I didn't give AI this sort of framework for referencing, and I just said, hey, create a strategic brief for me, and that was like that was all I gave it in terms of context, I'm not giving it any sort of guardrails to follow. And whether you're doing a strategic brief, or you're just doing a series of questions, or writing a blog post, or any sort of social media content, or you're doing in-depth customer, like, demographic understanding, or you're breaking down a transcript and turning it into executive notes that you're going to share across your team, if you have an existing framework or something that you use regularly all the time right now, you can then take that framework and create these recipes, as I call them, based on your specific framework. And with that said, AI is here to help you with helping you create those frameworks. And a lot of where, I get most of my value out of AI is in having that brainstorm partner to essentially have like unlimited ideas that I can bounce like my own ideas off of, or brainstorm and collaborate with AI to help with refining ideas in the first place. But ultimately, what I want to be focused on when I'm coming up with even ideas or expanding is, like, do you already have a series of questions that you ask yourself to think through when it comes to AI? Once you have an idea, basically, are you asking AI to help you with brainstorming and expanding on it? And you can do that with example inside of Claude here. I could say, based on the context above, can you give me some ideas for marketing campaigns? And so now we're conversationally talking with Claude about how it can help with ideation. So now whenever I'm asking it a question about some marketing ideas, now it's saying sponsor a luxury home and garden tour, host a series of webinars and topics relevant to high net worth individual buyers. And so I was like, okay, well, that's great. We'll partner with jet companies. That sounds like a lot of fun. And so I could take an idea now, and let's just say, I like this. Idea 3. Can you create some more ideas how I would execute this campaign? Right. And so you can get, need to learn how to spell idea, but And so now I can kind of go deeper and deeper on an idea that I would see and get inspiration from, and top jet operators, negotiating, placing, brochures, discuss having an agent on site at terminals, right? And so now I'm looking at this and saying, okay, cool. Are there things that now I could create with AI that could help me do more of this? Like, is there, like, maybe I use AI to create the brochure or magazine, but I need to have that conversation with people. And so write an outreach email. Let's see, like, to open conversation for becoming a sponsored partner with some of these private jets. And so here now you can go into creating emails, doing all this sort of thing. But if you have an email framework that already works for you, I would start with giving AI that sort of framework, because often AI is going to sound like a radio voice if you just don't give it any sort of guidelines, or just take into account that, like, while it can write a first draft of an email, like, it's ultimately still your decision as to what you're going to be sending and how you're going to be modifying it on that front. So, like, maybe you don't open an email. I hope this finds you well. My name is blank. I present here. I noticed that, so now I could take this and say, okay, that's great. Or I could say, like, rewrite the email in a more conversational tone with a stronger hook about my last experience flying private. And then here I would give more information about my experience and say, like, I want to give it a little bit more context here or there. And so then here it's like, oh, I just wanted to reach out. I had the most incredible experience flying with this company from LA. The service, the comfort blew me away, got me thinking. And so again, like, what do you want to create at the end of the day? And, like, how can you use AI to prime it with the context that we've provided above, but then start to write the content that can help accelerate our engagement to building those relationships and doing the things that the human needs to do to be involved with it, to have more of those conversations and just be aligned in your process. And so ultimately, that's what, like, AI can help us spark, is these different ways to use it for being creative and experiment, right? Like I said at the beginning of this, fuck around and find out. Play around with different ways that you think AI might work, or it'd be great to see if it could, and then figure out what that end goal and destination is. And often when it comes to marketing, then the creative and strategic brief are a great foundation to build off of. But then that's one section of a number of different ways that you can use to integrate AI. But hopefully, what you saw in this demonstration showed you the power of how you can use it for your creativity and your innovation, and other ways it can apply once you have your own workflows set up for, alignment and accelerating your creative process across the board. And so, with that said, quality and scale in the content creation process. This is section 6 of this masterclass, and it's one of the big strong points of generative AI is being able to produce high volume amounts of content really at scale. But ultimately, if your content doesn't have a strong brief behind it, if you don't have a really foundationally strong marketing, the content brief, the strategic brief, the buyer's blueprint that we were just covering here, then, like, your content can often sound like very boring and bland. Or if you don't know specifically that you're trying to create, what type of content you're trying to create, then focus on that there. If all of your content and your audience lives on Instagram, then you'd probably want to focus some of the outputs that you want to create next after you run the strategic brief on creating Instagram focused content. If your content and audience is primarily on LinkedIn, then focus what you're creating there and creating different frameworks and processes and instructions that are going to help you reach those goals faster. Because, like we said before, you can basically go any direction with AI and you can go there fast. But if you're going in the wrong direction, you're going to get there faster. And And so we want to really be careful and maintaining that human oversight so that the quality doesn't lack as we're going through here. And ultimately, when it comes to like tactics that are working for content creation, is that if like the tactics, while they might change and shift over time, is that are you connecting and engaging with your audience at the end of the day? Are you helping them solve a problem? Are they getting information that they're searching for to come from you? And that goes by answering their questions, being useful, being valuable, being seen as a trusted resource. And at the end of the day, it's about connecting and building those relationships through our content that lead people to know, like, and trust us, and then ultimately want to do business with us. And so, where does AI fit into that equation? Do you do a lot of YouTube videos, and maybe you don't want to use AI for scripts, but you want to brainstorm ideas for a YouTube video with bullet points? Great. Have AI help you with the brainstorming, film the content, and then use AI as the next stage to help you with edit and posting that content out there. Ultimately, again, what this comes down to, if you want to produce high quality content at scale, don't forget about the human oversight, and ultimately think about the end in mind with your content creation so that it's cohesive and it's consistent across the board as you're creating content that's quality and it's speaking to the different markets and segments that you are serving. And all of that can be built on from our strategic brief. Now, lastly, here in section 7, growth through AI. What we saw before was like the turning your strategic brief into different types of marketing campaigns, right? Well, if you want to do an email campaign, then you could use that creative brief to create a series of email campaigns that follow up with someone. And the marketing channels and asset optimization is going to come from this. Ultimately, it's going to come back down to, again, who you are and who you're serving, and like, where are your people hanging out in the first place? And without getting too like technical with things, because look, the tools and like even the prompts that you know we're building here at Gen AI University are going to change and evolve. Is that where, in terms of your audience and your segments, are they hanging out on the marketing channels? Do you need to be omnipresent? Does your audience even have a TikTok account? Does it make sense for you to focus your time and energy there? If so, great. Then like make sure that you're creating content that's aligned with TikTok. And there's many AI tools out there now that will help with the ad and the asset creation. You could use AI, for example, like we've done here today, to take that brief that we've created into, hey, write 10 quotes that I could use for thought leadership on LinkedIn. You can create those quotes. From those quotes, you can take those and then create an automation from a spreadsheet in Google to Canva. And instead of taking 10 minutes to make 10 infographics, you take 10 minutes and you can create 1,000 infographics following that same sort of workflow. But ultimately, again, the content that we're creating, you want to have that plan for getting it into distribution. So you're creating the content based off of your brief. You're understanding, where does that content need to go? Is it just text? Are you going to be filming a video? Are you going to be optimizing a workflow around you being on like more podcasts? You need to open up more conversations for you actually booking those podcasts. Well, if that's the case, let's start from the end in mind and then reverse what sort of content we need to be brainstorming inside of our campaign to effectively reach the podcast host, the assistant. Or are we just, the goal is just to post every single day on LinkedIn for the next year? Okay, great. Well, use, Hootsuite, Buffer, a number of these different tools. FeedHive is one that we use here for our content scheduling, and then taking the content you generate and getting it either into its visual format or just text-based, and filming the content yourself or having a member of your team do the content, edit it, finalize it, prepare it with the human side of the equation, and run the process, but also get the content out there into distribution and let the data inform your next decision when it comes to it, right? So whether you're communicating to people over email or you're scaling up one of your marketing channels, and you need to get content out there one way or the other. The question is, which channels are you going to be going at, and like, what are the assets that you need to create to effectively market on those channels? And then come back to the creative and strategic brief, and once you have a solid foundation there, then you can create your prompt, your recipe, your workflow for ultimately getting the content out to optimize on those channels and then scale up that portion of your business. And so we've done a lot of talking on the marketing side here, because any business that wants to leverage AI and do it effectively can follow the process of the strategic brief to getting more content created in line with your marketing message and the campaign that you're looking to produce, to do that and save you tons of time so that you can spend it on doing all the other things inside of your process and system to make more sales, to have more qualified conversations, and to do the things that AI has now freed you up to spend more time on actionable business level of growth. So in conclusion, let's talk about your AI integration roadmap, right? There's obviously an immense potential of AI and human collaboration, especially when we're coming at it from the mindset of we have to tweak, we have to practice, we've got to refine, and then we've got to bring the proper data in so that we know that we're feeding AI good information. But again, like, a lot of these tools are going to change. By the time you've even watched this video, tools will have changed, things will come out, new updates, new announcements, all the things, right? But ultimately, you need to think about how you're going to integrate AI systematically into your business. And first and foremost, it's starting with the end in mind. It's knowing, where do you want your content to end up? It's who do you want to be speaking to? And like, what are all the steps that are coming into place with breaking down that content? If you need help identifying that, well, you can work with Claude, you can work with ChatGPT to help you with coming up with systems and SOPs. There's lots of AI tools that can assist with this as well, but ultimately identifying the simple, or simplifying things down to identifying a workflow that is taking your time, or that is one that is a money making activity for you, and then focusing on that workflow and like just looking at ways that you can optimize your own time with the help of AI. And once you're really clear on that workflow, then you can go back and identify what AI tools are actually going to be most useful for you. And then knowing that a lot of these tools are going to change, it's critical that somebody at your business is your AI champion. If it's not you, then it needs to be somebody that's out there, even if it's 30 minutes, an hour a day, exploring tools, different ways that maybe AI could help be brought back to the business to help you with streamlining your sales, your writing. Well, like, having that person, whether it's you, again, whether it's someone on your team that is learning this stuff, is critical, because as the industry continues to change, AI is going to continue to have more ways that can impact our businesses, as long as we understand all the things that are going on at this current time to make our business tick, and then breaking things down from there as to, okay, well, now that I know this is my process, now let me go and identify the tools that I need. If you're marketing, a strategic brief is going to be fantastic for helping you get aligned with your creative messaging, your market segmentation, and just going a few steps deeper on brainstorming those ideas for campaigns that you're going to be creating. But ultimately, as these tools continue to evolve, it's a lot to keep up with, and there's some great resources for you to continue your AI journey here on what we're doing on our platform here at Gen AI University. We've got our YouTube channel, Gen AI University, where you can subscribe and get a lot of our free tools, trainings, and content that we walk through with different recipes. We also offer recipes and workflows for sale for those that are looking at just working with some of our different processes and integrating them into your business. But for those of you that are looking for a community and an education platform to go from beginning to advanced and beyond in AI education for integration into your business, for innovation and growth, then genaiuniversity.com allows you to enroll, and you can subscribe there, but also enroll and check out how to enroll not just yourself, but also a team of people that you're working with. Work with our coaches for accountability, for support, and for teams and organizations. We offer personalized learning paths. Will tailor specific courses and trainings and materials specific to your team and your goals. So at genaiuniversity.com, that is the place where we are exploring and we're teaching and we're training on the future of AI integration for business growth. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to what the theme is that we live by, which is mastering AI, the mind and AI to adapt, to integrate, to grow, and to leverage these tools and this technology to be more creative, to be more innovative, and to grow our businesses and make our lives better. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this to support each other and to navigate the waters of AI as things are changing, while also understanding that it's really critical that you are getting information, staying up to date with this stuff as much as possible. And that's where our community comes into place. And hopefully, throughout the course of this masterclass, you've gotten a better understanding of one example of a workflow through the strategic brief that you can use to identify areas of your market, of your audience, different segments that you can create marketing campaigns around, and how to go about starting with the end in mind and being adaptable to changing with AI and staying on top of things and up to date. But also just the simplicity of just getting something out there and figuring out what's the one workflow right now that you need to figure out. What is the one thing that you and your team are doing that is going to have a lot of leverage if you could free up more time or accelerate an existing process or even automate the entire thing. Start there, work backwards, and start to build out from that point. What is your AI integration roadmap going to look like? What are the different tools, resources, AI workflows, and recipes that could help with augmenting and enhancing what you're already doing and working on well in your business so that you can stay ahead of the game and on the cutting edge in the age of AI? Again, my name is Darby Rollins. Learn more and subscribe to Gen AI University at genaiuniversity.com. And until next time, keep calm and AI on. See you on the inside.